If you love the game,
All right, episode 13, and this coach right here is someone I met in 2013, Coach Jonathan Brewer. He was a GA at Auburn. He went on to go to UConn, SMU, Miami, back to SMU, and now he's at Duke as the OC quarterbacks coach. He is a ACC champion. He's setting school records, man. They got 484 points this past year, 63 touchdowns, 152 quarterback efficiency, and he had a almost 4,000 yard passer at his quarterback, 1,000 yard rusher, and 1,000 yard receiver. So this dude knows what's going on when it comes to offense, and I'm excited for you to hear from Coach Jonathan Brewer, quarterback, OC, Duke Blue Devils. Let's go ahead and jump into this thing. And remember, if you love the game, you're in the right seat. All right, going out to the press box this week, we got offensive coordinator, quarterback coach from Duke University, Coach Jonathan Brewer from Rogers, Arkansas, home of the first Walmart and 7 Brew, man. Hey,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
like that? Hey, shout out to you,
yes,
dude. I
yeah, that's
appreciate you
right.
joining in,
Walmart,
man.
man, Walmart, Tyson Foods, JB Hunt, man, you name it. We had it in Arkansas, so it's pretty sweet.
Heck yeah, dude. So I got to meet you back in 2013. I was still playing, and you came in as a GA, fired up. You and shout out to Coach Brandon Willen. And it's been awesome to watch your journey. But for anybody that does not know about Coach Jonathan Brewer, man, fill us in, man. You've been to SMU, Miami. You've been kind of all over the place. And now you're the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach. So take us through your coaching journey.
Yeah, man, I got started when I got out of high school. Got into coaching. Was fortunate enough to be around a legendary high school football coach named Ronnie Peacock, and then I coached with him for 7 years, 4 of them which I was pretty much a GA, and did everything a GA would do I did at the high school level, and did that so well, I guess, that they offered me a teaching job, and did that, and I worked next to or against Coach Malzahn. That ended up being at Auburn, Rhett Lashley, Eli Drinkwitz. We used to trade tapes together, and so got to know those guys really well. And then whenever Coach Malzahn got a head job at Auburn, he called me and offered me a GA job. I was actually a week out from being married. Got back from my honeymoon Monday morning. I'm in a junior
Shout
high
out Danielle.
Yeah, shout out to Danielle. I was in a junior high basketball gym and doing layup lines with my 7th grade basketball team, and I got a call from Rhett and Coach Malzahn and said, "Hey, you want to be a GA here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm in." He's like, "Well, you might want to call your wife." And so I called Danielle. She starts crying immediately because she knows that we're gonna go do this, and this has been a dream of ours. And so I was there that weekend, for OVs, and it happened that fast. Had no idea, if you're gonna make any money. Didn't really care. It was just to get a foot in the door. And did that for 3 years. I was an offensive line GA, so I got to go against Craig, got to go against you for a little bit, coaching against you.
That was always fun, man. You got to coach the Greg Robinsons and the Chad Slades and all the big timers.
Greg, Chad, Sean, Reese, Pat. I mean, we had some dudes. Avery Young, Braden Smith. I mean, we had some Alex Kozan. I mean, we had some
those are some names right there.
Some real names. So we walked into a pretty good situation. We were too deep with, in my mind, starters, and I was like, "This is unbelievable." And I'd never coached offensive line before, so when I get there, Coach Malzahn and Coach Lashley, I'm like, "Sweet, I'm gonna work with quarterbacks. I'm a quarterback guy. I'm gonna get to work with quarterbacks, get to learn Coach Malzahn and Coach Lashley's way of teaching things." And then they walked me down the hallway to JB Grimes's office, and I was like, "All right, cool." Like, and I had no idea. I was like, "Coach, I don't know anything about offensive line play." I was like, I know, hey, block down, do this, and really probably the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
I got a doctorate, JB. I mean, in my mind, he's the Yoda of offensive line plays. He's probably the same height as Yoda, but he has all the knowledge of a offensive line master. And so, he taught me. I had 3 years with him, and I pretty much felt like I got a doctorate in that time and in offensive line play. And then went with Rhett. Rhett and I went to UConn after the 2016 season and kind of started our own journey there, and ended up going to SMU after that with Sonny Dykes, and really just took off there. Was the offensive line coach in 2018. Got blessed to have a chance to do that, and then went to Miami for 2 years. Had a really successful 2 years there, and then Rhett got a job at SMU and hired me back as the quarterbacks coach, co-offensive coordinator. Did that for 2 years, and then, got hired when Coach Diaz got the Duke job, and been doing it for the last 2 years. Just won a conference championship, and been rolling.
Dude, what stood out to me as I'm reading up on you, and I follow along with you. See, I didn't even know you were the O-line coach for a year where you got that spot. But I
Yeah.
think it's big as an OC because I don't know how many can say that they've coached all three positions because you were an analyst for wide receivers.
Yep. I
You've
was.
helped out with quarterbacks, you helped out with O-line. How much do you, as an OC, like have input on like that O-line verbiage and everything else too? You kind of just you delegate that and let them do their own
Yeah,
thing.
I really, we actually just had a meeting about it today. Just talking of you know, teaching your guys in the most simplest form, and how can we simplify things even more down and even more down to where there's no thinking, there's just playing.
Yeah.
And so how I associate it is by after coaching the room, after being in there with those guys, teaching those front five guys. When we put something new in, I'm always cognizant of what that means for them and what it means for the offensive line, because it's easy just to go and say, hey, we're going to run this and do this, but there's a lot. I mean, you got to block all these different fronts. You got to have rules, and when you put something new in, it may go against a rule you were previously using for something else. So you're so cognizant. I'm so cognizant of like, hey, I understand the problem and the dilemma that goes on in the offensive line room, probably a little bit more so than what
Yeah.
normal coordinators. They're just like, just block down, just that easy.
Yeah.
But it's a little different than that. There's a lot more rules that go along with that. So
And then he might move too. That's
yeah, he might move,
that's what always blows my mind.
yeah, yeah. So it's, but man, it was the best thing I ever did because I really learned how to coach. And if I don't know if I'd be the coach today if I didn't get to work with JB for those 3 years and just how to simplify teaching, how to be repetitive, how to believe in your movement skills and what you do repetitively over and over again. I think so many coaches now look for like all these bunch of drills and all this kind of stuff. And literally JB and I, we had probably, you remember, we had like probably the 7 base little things drills that we did every single day, and we mastered those techniques. And
Yeah, those everyday drills. That
every
like
day.
literally, if y'all were not there, the kids could run it themselves. See, that's what I
Exactly.
think's big. Sometimes even just at high school ball, I may be running off to fill up a water cooler or something like that, and the D line can go ahead and start the drills because you're not having to sit there and make up a new drill every day. Those everyday drills are just so beneficial.
Yeah, and I mean, like you're right. If you go in, if you could have your guys teach something that you're doing in a drill to another, student athlete, that's really when you know if they really got it or they're just going out there every day just listening to you. If they can go out there, they understand what you're doing every single day, and then go teach it somebody, that says a lot, So
Now, I know you got the O line background. When you're breaking down an opponent, because I had this later in the thing, but I kind of want to go and ask now. This is just for me. How much of it goes into how the D line plays of you going into that week of like if is it like a well like tamed D line that if they get a block down they're squeezing doing a great job, or these guys are crazy running upfield just slanting making all kind of crazy stuff happen? Is that the first position group that you're looking at on the other side of the ball when you go to break down film, or how do you study it?
yeah, definitely that you're first off looking who's this defensive coordinator as a structure. Is he a more odd front? Is he more of a bear front? Is he more of a build to bear guy? Is he more an even front? And really, what is his signature? Like, if it was game on the line, these are his 3 calls that he gonna die by. And then it kind of builds a whole defense off
Yeah,
of that. That's really how we look at
yeah,
it. Okay, and then you look at it in the perspective of how does Coach Miles taught me this a long time ago is you need to look at the defense of how if they were to play you, how would they try to stop you, right? How would they
hmm
try to play the chess game of, man, if we play them and they decide to play cover 2, the reason they're doing that is to try to stop us from the vertical game. So like, what are our answers, right? We know if they play single high, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And so going in the game, you've already thought through, you kind of gamed out the plan that guy could potentially be doing instead of getting surprised on game day. Because the guys have their base stuff and who they are, and this being in high school probably benefits me more than anything because high school you show up one week they're odd front, the next week you probably get they may show up playing even front, and whatever you couldn't
yeah.
stop before is probably what they you were going to see next in the high school, and really it's kind of bleeding into college. To be honest with you, if you struggle to go against something, it's
You want
probably
to
going to be
copycat it?
it exactly right. And people are going to, what
Yeah.
is their version of it? You know what I mean? And so
Right.
you start to see that more often.
What's I don't know how many people know this, but I just know my short time of doing it in the college. What's the furthest that you'll go back and watch film? Because I know that we would go back sometimes 5, 6, 7 years, and you go back and look at something to see what somebody did against just to get like a little glimpse.
Yeah. My first 4 years were with Coach Malzahn, so we'd go back and watch. I mean, I felt like 10 years. The film would be so grainy. We'd watch stuff. Man, you know what? He was dead on. You'd see patterns of how people defended certain things, especially if we had a series going against a certain DC, or if a guy was on staff on the defensive staff that had success against us in what we do on offense. And so you would say, okay, hey, that guy's probably going to come in and say, hey, we had a lot of success doing this and whatever it was. And so you do go back and watch quite a bit, especially when you can figure out who on the staff has a lot of connections to playing you before. And then it really turns into situational stuff. If you don't have a ton of fourth downs on tape, you know what I mean? What you have to go back multiple years to find fourth downs, 2-point plays, overtime, situational type of 2-minute calls, must have to win it calls, must have to stop calls, stuff like that, where you're preparing yourself for pretty much every situation. So you got to go back as far as you can. And
Right.
we're lucky enough that we've got a good support staff. So, my guys will come in on Sunday and I'll have a whole, play bank of the last pretty much 3 years of this hurts this guy, and this is what hurts their defense and what is matches with us. And so kind of a head start, and I don't have to go back and personally watch it. It's already made for me, ready to go.
Yeah, that's big time, and I know you appreciate that having to be in those shoes too as well. Whenever I was coaching, it was right when the Q charge and the mesh charge was all like starting to come out, and
Yep.
we actually were like, I was kind of at the Auburn with the D line helping whenever we started trying to install all that. What is the new thing in 2026 if there is one on the D line? Like, what are you guys seeing now?
Mm.
Has it evolved to something else that they're doing new or anything like that?
Yeah, the thing that we probably saw the most trending, or you can say trendy type of thing for the last season. We've got a lot. There hasn't been a ton of pressure. It seems like teams are willing to not necessarily concede yards, but they're not willing to put their players in risk situations as far as the pressures. What they are willing to do is to jump the fronts up, especially out of a four-man front, a lot of twist game to really go against your double teams, and to really, if you think about it, if I can use four guys to take away your five offensive linemen, my
Hmm.
Arkansas math ain't great, but they probably get an advantage with their back end and their linebackers being freed up. And so so that's probably the biggest trend. It really saw it a little bit last year, going into last year. Typically you're thinking a lot of people are pressure heavy, or how do they slant the front? And what we've seen is just a ton of games. Your NT twist, your TE twist, opposite the back, tech stunts, that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. And really just what they're trying to, really trying to free up their backers and secondary to their plus one guys to make plays. And so
Right.
you've got to be able to run, a variety of run schemes to go against that stuff. If you're lining up and you're trying to run, the same, whether it's inside zone, whatever it is, and that's the only thing you have to combat it, it's not, you better get ready to get teed off on.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple of times this year. I like people running those tech stunts even on rundowns, and it's
Yes.
kind of they're getting lucky with them. Not I say getting lucky. They probably schemed it up to enough to know that backs away. Well,
Yeah.
whatever. They probably know what they're doing. They're not getting lucky. But
Yeah.
so going into a game, all right. So
Mhm.
that was good to see, because I know there was a minute there where we were doing Q charges and mesh charges, and people started just locking the tackle, and
Yeah.
then people got away from it. So nobody does that anymore. And the one thing I was thinking about earlier today was we had a call too where a bunch of people were doing Q Pyro read, and we would
Mhm.
run upfield to give them a keep call, and then
Yep.
you'd fall back on the quarterback. But I don't know how much Q Pyro read's showing up anymore. Like, I feel like all that's kind of just done moved out of date. So this is what I wanted to ask you. On Saturdays, what drill do you do during the week that you see on Saturday film show up that you go, that's that drill?
Yeah. For us, Craig, we're probably a lot different than we were when we were with you at Auburn and you're around us on both the defensive side and in the coaching side. We throw the ball quite a bit. We were the number 2 passer in the country. We throw the ball vertically really well, and man, we do a simple drill called pack and go every single day, and a lot of people do it as a warm up drill. This is actually a full 5 to 7 minute drill that we do with our guys, and it really teaches the receivers how to restack, how to get a negative spine lean on the defender to restack, to have their eyes back at 10 yards, to really train the receiver to track the ball over their outside shoulder. So it's ball, me, defender. So it keeps that space between me and the ball and the defender. Teach the quarterback how to put air and outside on the ball. We do that. We throw back shoulders every single day. And we, the biggest thing is this, to build routine for the guys. So when they go out and play and we ask them to throw a go ball, a lot of people teach like, hey, throw it as far as you can and all that kind of stuff. And that's great. It works for some people. But we try to build it where they just go out there, and if somebody gives us man, boom, we can rip a ball. We know we've done it so many times in the drill. I mean, it's the first thing we do. We do it on air. We do it with no ball. We'll actually install it coming up here in a couple of weeks. We start doing some football stuff with no ball, and we'll do the drill on air, and the guys will actually we'll do the whole drill with the quarterbacks fake throwing it, and the guys will restack, eyes back at 10. They'll look it into a tuck, the whole visualization of what we're trying to do. That's probably the number one drill that we do. And our guys believe in it so much, like you talked about. We have all these freshmen show up, transfers show up, and all of our guys that have been in our program the last 3 years that are still here, they can go out and train them in that drill. And it's exactly what you talked about at the beginning of the segment, was that if your kids can go teach your stuff, they know.
Right.
And really, this, that they believe it. They believe in it. Like, hey, this is what we do. Mm-hmm. This is how we're successful. And, and so we harp on those things. We don't do a lot of things. We don't do a lot of drills. We just focus in on executing on the ones that we have, and they have a purpose. That. I think the best thing you can do for your, every day that standing on the table drill is to be able to show it. You doing it, showing it why you do it in a game situation, and really we try to show our guys NFL reps of guys executing that. So it shows why you're doing it today in the game that we're going to need to win it. And then when you get to the next level, this is how it's going to separate yourself. And so that you see all different phases, doing. I think the kids just, they want to know the why, especially at Duke. Duke kids, they think they're like, which is a good thing. They want to know the why. It's not just tell them something and you're going to do it. So.
Yeah, some brainiacs over there. Dude, you bring up that NFL film. I hate not having that anymore. You used to just have endless NFL film you could watch and just watch and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
My question for you, so like if you roll into halftime and your coaches and everybody's coming in, what does halftime adjustments look like for you? And more pertain to, and I want it's kind of for high school coaches, because multiple things happen during high school halftime. But what's the biggest thing that you would take out of halftime going into the second half?
Yeah, we come in at halftime and really what you're probably no different than what a lot of people you'd assume is, what's working. What are we getting? What's working? And try to phase it in the thought process of, hey, what are the 3 run calls that I can go to? I think we're going to have success based off what I've got in the first half. Hey, what are the shots I want to get to, where it's 4 to 5 shots? And then it turns into this, usually we carry an opening script for the second half anyways. It's already scripted out, so I don't have to worry about it. But what things inside that second half opening script fit for what we're going against defensively, and what tweaks do we need to have to make from all that? And then, there's the other things like player touches. Have we got our guys the touches they need to get going? And the number one thing is get your best players the ball. And then be able to. My big deal is to be able to present it to the offense in a clear and concise visual presentation. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. And then I really get with the quarterback, and after I go through, and I ask him, hey, what are you seeing, and what do you want me to call for you? And I really get a real accurate, feeling for what he's wanting, and so we're a quarterback-driven offense, and so if he doesn't feel good about the stuff we're doing, it ain't gonna work. So, hey, let's run smash with the, blah 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 tag too. He's like, yeah, I love that. Let's do that. Or I don't like this. Let's get back to this stuff. So,
Two-part question. What kind of cadence do you use, and how much freedom do you give him, like at the line of scrimmage? Can he check it, do his own thing, or what?
Um, those are kind of trade secrets. So,
What about
uh,
is
yeah,
are we a clap, or are we verbal?
man. Like I said, those are trade secrets.
Oh, I
That's
got you
like
good, man. Hey,
that's all good.
that's
Man,
cool.
you know,
I
yeah,
was hoping you'd hit me with the white 80. I was hoping you brought
White
back the
80.
white 80.
We are very quarterback friendly, so our guys can come in and play right away. They don't have to think about stuff. And
Okay, yeah, I don't want you to give away any secrets. I was thinking clap or verbal, but hey, maybe
hey, what
all
do you
the
call your
above.
run guy? Hey, you know how many times I get that in a question? It's like,
No,
hey,
no,
how
I'm
many
not
times?
gonna be that guy at the
Hey,
coaches conference that goes, "Hey, can you give us your whole playbook
no, hey,
and all your verbiage?" I just meant do you still clap or you do verbal? Because a bunch of people are transitioning away from the clap. I don't know. All right,
yeah, I
yeah, I
think
don't I
like,
don't want any of the freaking Dukes secrets given away. Okay,
yeah.
all
Hey, how do you signal it in? How do the boards work? And
right.
I remember at Auburn when we
That
didn't
that
have.
that question was not like that. Yeah, that that
Yeah, I
that,
had a
that
guy.
was not.
Seriously, I had a guy email Cody Burns and I when we were at Auburn and was like, "Hey, I figured out what the four squares mean on the board that you guys are holding up," and it was this. I'm talking like detailed plan. It had nothing to do with what we were actually doing, but I was like, "Golly, this guy put a lot of thought into it," and just to think about that and what other people are doing to try to figure out signals or cadence and all that kind of stuff is comical.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, all right. I feel bad. I wasn't trying to. I was wondering
No,
about
it's all
quarterback
good.
cadence. Yeah.
All
All
good.
right. Last one I'll leave you with, and I appreciate your time tonight. What does success look like for Duke's offense this upcoming season, just beyond points per game?
Yeah, the biggest thing is, do we win? Do
Hmm.
we do what it takes to win? 2 years ago, we had a top 10 defense in the country, and we were good on offense. We weren't elite like we were this last season, but the best thing we did is we didn't turn the ball over. We got first downs. We ended a lot of drives and kicks. I know that sounds very simple, but playing to the strength of what our team is and what our quarterback was this last season, we were more in a scoring frenzy, and that's okay. You can win different ways, and so who knows what this season looks like, and we really won't know until we get to the end of fall camp to know who our guys are, who our quarterback is, and really build the offense for what he can do. Um,
Hmm.
I think the one of the biggest indicators for success is probably conversion downs. Can you be good on third down and fourth down? Can you convert in the red zone? Ellis Johnson taught me a long time ago. When I was at Auburn with you, and you played for Ellis, and Ellis didn't. It felt like he never really cared about yards, and didn't. That was not. He was like offense. Today's football is built for offense with the pass interference and where the rules are structured. He's like, can we be really good on third down defense, and can we be really good on red zone defense, and can we get people off the field on third down, or when they have an explosive play in the red zone, can we tackle them and hold them to a field goal? And if we do that at an elite level, we'll beat teams just because we'll outscore them, because they're just kicking field goals every time. And that's really what, in 2013, if you look at the stats, that's what you
Hmm.
guys were really good at. Maybe the explosive plays, they got after us in the explosive plays, but I think we were top 10 in the country in third down defense, and we were top 10 in red zone third down or red zone defense with field goals. And so those, I just truly believe that, and that's what it takes to win.
Yeah, that's big time. Shout out to Coach Johnson, man. Hey, and shout out to you right here, okay? Because you're at the ACC Championship. You won that this past year. You set program records. You have 484 points, 63 touchdowns, and passing efficiency 152.53. You produced a 3,000-yard passer, 1,000-yard receiver, and a 1,000-yard rusher. So,
Close to
Coach Jonathan
4,000.
Brewer,
Close to
huh?
fourth there. We were like 300 or 3,990 something yards pass. We're close to 4,000, so it was close.
Oh,
We
what was his
tried.
cadence when he was doing it? No.
Just throw it deep. Just throw it deep, man. Just throw it deep. So
Hey,
no,
well,
dude, I'll
shout
tell
out
you
to you,
that.
man. I
Yeah,
appreciate you coming on. Thank
I
you for your
appreciate you, man.
time. I hope you have a great off season. I wish you the best of luck, man, and go Blue Devils.
Okay, all right, appreciate you, man.